The steam from the kitchen wasn't the only thing making it hard to breathe as I watched Daniel proudly show off the photos of his new property. 3 bedrooms, oceanfront view, private beach access, all supposedly purchased with the profits from my grandmother's recipes. "Isn't it amazing, Sophie?" he asked, scrolling through more pictures on his phone. "And it's all thanks to your cooking." My name is Sophie Chen, and at 42, I thought I knew everything about running a successful restaurant. After all, Golden Lotus had become one of the most popular Asian fusion restaurants in Seattle, built on recipes passed down through generations of my family. But apparently, I didn't know everything about my husband of 15 years. "When did you close on it?" I asked, keeping my voice steady as I chopped vegetables for the evening service. "Last week," he said, pocketing his phone. "While you were visiting your mom in Vancouver." I nodded, the knife hitting the cutting board with more force than necessary. "Last week, when he told me he was at a restaurant suppliers convention in Chicago. Just like he'd been at conventions every few months for the past 5 years. It's a great investment," he continued, oblivious to my tension. "We can rent it out when we're not using it. I've already listed it on several vacation rental sites." The kitchen door swung open as Maria, my head waitress, poked her head in. "Sophie, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important." I set down my knife, wiping my hands on my apron. "Can it wait? We're opening in an hour." She says she's come all the way from Florida. Florida, where Daniel's conventions always seem to be held. Where large sums of money from the restaurant's accounts mysteriously disappeared to every month. Where, as I'd recently discovered, Daniel had another wife and 2 children. "I'll handle the prep," Daniel offered. "You take care of this." Of course he would. He'd been handling a lot of things lately. The accounting, the banking, the supplier payments. All while I focused on the kitchen, trusting him to manage the business side of things. What a fool I'd been. In my small office above the kitchen, a woman waited. She was younger than me, maybe mid-30s, with carefully styled blonde hair and expensive-looking clothes. My heart clenched as I recognized her from the photos I found hidden in Daniel's desk drawer. "Mrs. Chen," she said, standing as I entered. "I'm Jennifer. Jennifer Thompson." Thompson. Daniel's other surname, the one he used in Florida. The one that appeared on mortgage documents and school registration forms for children I'd never met. "Please sit," I said, closing the door behind me. "How can I help you?" She twisted her wedding ring, identical to mine, nervously. "I think we need to talk about Daniel." For the next hour, Jennifer laid out a story that would have seemed impossible just a few months ago. How she'd met Daniel at a restaurant conference in Miami 6 years ago. How he told her he was a successful restaurant consultant. How they'd married 5 years ago and had 2 children, all while he maintained his life with me in Seattle. "I found the papers last month," she said, pulling out a folder. "Bank statements, transfer records. He's been taking money from your restaurant to support us." When I confronted him, he promised to explain everything, but then he disappeared. That's when I started digging and found out about you. I looked at the documents spread across my desk. Bank transfers, property deeds, school tuition payments, all funded with money from Golden Lotus. My restaurant, my family's legacy. "How much?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Over $2 million in the past 5 years, Jennifer replied. "But that's not why I'm here. There's something else you need to know." She pulled out another document, a life insurance policy. My life insurance policy, taken out by Daniel 3 months ago for $5 million. "I found this in his office," she said, "along with these." She handed me a stack of printed emails between Daniel and someone discussing accident scenarios and untraceable methods. My hands shook as I read through them. My husband wasn't just a bigamist and a thief. He was planning to kill me. A knock at the door made us both jump. "Sophie," Daniel's voice called. "The prep's done. We're ready to open." I met Jennifer's terrified eyes across the desk. "Just a minute," I called back, quickly gathering the documents. "What do we do?" Jennifer whispered. I thought about my grandmother's recipes, about the restaurant she dreamed of opening but never had the chance to. About how Daniel had taken all of that, our success, our money, our trusts, and used it to build another life. "We make him pay," I said, my voice hardening. "For everything." Down in the kitchen, Daniel was humming as he wiped down the prep station. He looked up as I entered, smiling that same smile I trusted for 15 years. "Everything okay?" he asked. I forced myself to smile back. "Perfect. Just someone asking about catering." He nodded, already turning back to his work. "Great. Oh, by the way, I need to head to Florida next week. Another convention." "Of course," I said, picking up my knife. "Whatever you need." He had no idea what was coming. But he would. The next week moved at an excruciating pace. Every morning, I watched Daniel pack for his convention, knowing he was heading to his other family. Every night, I stayed late at the restaurant, meticulously documenting every financial record I could find. Jennifer and I spoke daily, sharing information through secure email accounts we created. She'd moved out of their Florida home, taking the children to stay with her sister. We were both playing our parts, the unsuspecting wives, going about our normal routines while building our case. I found more accounts, she told me during one of our late-night calls. He's been moving money through at least 3 different banks. I was in my office above the kitchen, surrounded by printouts and sticky notes. "Send me the details. I'll add them to the evidence file." The evidence file was growing thick. Bank statements showing systematic theft from Golden Lotus. Property records for houses and cars bought with stolen money. Even recordings of phone calls where Daniel slipped between his 2 lives, telling each of us different versions of the same lies. But it was what I found in the restaurant's basement storage that changed everything. I was looking for old tax records when I discovered a hidden compartment behind some shelving. Inside was a laptop, one I'd never seen before, and several USB drives. "You need to see this," I texted Jennifer, immediately uploading the files I found. They weren't just financial records. Daniel had been running a complex money laundering operation through both the restaurant and his Florida properties. The stolen money from Golden Lotus was just part of it. He was cleaning money for some very dangerous people. "This is bigger than we thought," Jennifer said when she called back. "Sophie, these people, they're not just criminals. They're organized crime." My hands shook as I scrolled through more documents. "The restaurant, he's been using my family's restaurant to clean their money." "That's not all," Jennifer continued. "I found emails about the insurance policy. They're not just planning an accident. They're going to use it to take control of Golden Lotus completely. Once you're gone, Daniel gets everything." I thought about my grandmother's face when she'd given me her recipe book on her deathbed. "Promise me," she'd said, "that you'll keep our legacy alive." "We need help," I said finally. "Professional help." That's how we met Marcus Chen, no relation, a former FBI agent turned private investigator who specialized in financial crimes. He took one look at our evidence and immediately brought in his contacts at the FBI's white-collar crime division. "This is a major operation," he explained during our first meeting. "Your husband isn't just committing bigamy and theft. He's involved in international money laundering. The people he's working with, they're on multiple watch lists." "What do we do?" Jennifer asked, clutching her coffee cup like a lifeline. Marcus leaned forward. "We build the case carefully, document everything, and most importantly, we let him think he's winning." So that's what we did. For the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect wife. I smiled when Daniel talked about his business trips. I didn't question the financial discrepancies he explained away so smoothly. I even started talking about taking a vacation, giving him the perfect opportunity he seemed to be waiting for. "We should go somewhere quiet," he suggested one evening as we closed up the restaurant. "Maybe that beach house. Just the 2 of us." I forced myself to smile. "That sounds perfect. When were you thinking?" "Next month. After the big charity dinner we're hosting." The charity dinner. Another one of his schemes. We discovered he was using these events to move large sums of money through fake donations. "I'll start planning," I said, kissing his cheek while my stomach churned. That night, after Daniel was asleep, I met with Marcus and Jennifer at a quiet diner across town. "He's making his move," I told them, spreading out the latest documents I'd found. "The charity dinner, then the beach house trip. That's when they're planning to do it." Marcus nodded grimly. "We've identified his contacts in the organization. They're professional hitmen disguised as legitimate businessmen. They'll be at the dinner, probably to finalize the details." "Then that's when we take them down," Jennifer said firmly. The plan was set. The FBI would monitor the dinner, gathering evidence as Daniel and his associates conducted their business. Meanwhile, Jennifer and I would play our parts, the trusting wife in Seattle, the angry but quiet ex in Florida. But plans, as I'd learned, don't always work out the way you expect. 3 days before the charity dinner, I was in the kitchen prep area when I overheard Daniel on the phone in his office. "No, it has to be before the dinner," he was saying. "She's getting suspicious." Yes, I knew that wasn't the plan. But, fine, tonight then, make it look like a robbery gone wrong. My blood ran cold. They weren't waiting for the dinner. They were coming tonight. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands, sending a group text to Marcus and Jennifer. "They've moved up the timeline. Tonight." Marcus responded immediately. "Get out of there. Now." But I looked around the kitchen, my grandmother's kitchen, where her legacy lived in every recipe, every dish, every memory we created. I'd already let Daniel steal our money, use our reputation, tarnish everything we built. I wasn't going to let him take this too. "No," I texted back. "I have a better idea." The dinner service that night was unusually busy, even for a Friday. Every table was full, the kitchen humming with practiced efficiency as my staff executed my grandmother's recipes to perfection. If anyone noticed that I'd assigned Daniel to handle the front of house, keeping him away from the kitchen, they didn't mention it. I called in every favor I had. Mixed in with our regular customers were FBI agents posing as diners. Marcus sat at the bar, pretending to read a newspaper while keeping an eye on the entrance. Even Jennifer had flown in, wearing a dark wig and glasses, seated in a corner with a clear view of Daniel's office. At 9:47 p.m., exactly as Daniel's phone records had indicated, 2 men in expensive suits walked in. I recognized them from the surveillance photos Marcus had shown me. Victor and Andrew Koslov, the businessmen who were actually hired killers. "Mr. Thompson's associates are here," Maria whispered as she passed me in the kitchen. I nodded, my hands steady as I plated an order of my grandmother's famous honey walnut shrimp. "Show them to the private dining room." Through the kitchen window, I watched Daniel greet them warmly, leading them to our small private dining area in the back, right where we wanted them. "Everything's ready?" I asked Marcus via the hidden earpiece he'd given me. "All set," he confirmed. "Surveillance is up and running. Audio's crystal clear." I'd spent the afternoon setting up hidden cameras and microphones in a private dining room. More importantly, I prepared something special for our guests. "Your usual table is ready, Mr. Koslov," I heard Daniel say, "and I've had the kitchen prepare something special, off menu." That was my cue. I picked up the tray I'd prepared personally and headed out to the dining room. "Gentlemen," I smiled, setting down their plates. "My grandmother's secret recipe. She only made it for very special guests." Victor Koslov raised an eyebrow at Daniel. "Your wife cooks." "Sophie runs the kitchen," Daniel said smoothly. "I handle everything else." "Everything else," I repeated, meeting his eyes. "Like the books, the accounts, the money laundering?" The color drained from Daniel's face. Victor and Andrew stopped eating, their hands moving toward their jackets. "I wouldn't," I said calmly. "The FBI has been recording everything since you walked in. And those symptoms you're starting to feel, that's not food poisoning, just a mild sedative. Courtesy of my grandmother's other secret recipe." Victor tried to stand but swayed, grabbing the table for support. Andrew's head was already drooping. "You," Daniel started, but his speech was slurring. "What did you?" "Amazing what you can hide in a complex sauce," I said, watching as all 3 men slumped in their chairs. "Don't worry, you'll wake up in federal custody." On cue, FBI agents emerged from their positions around the restaurant. Marcus approached with handcuffs as other agents secured Victor and Andrew. "Sophie Thompson," Daniel mumbled as agents cuffed him. "You're going to regret this." "It's Sophie Chen." I corrected him, and no, I won't. The next few hours were a blur of FBI interviews and evidence collection. The agents were particularly interested in the laptop from the basement, which contained detailed records of the money laundering operation. Jennifer appeared at my side as they led Daniel and the Koslov brothers away. "Is it really over?" I nodded, watching the patrol cars pull away. "Almost. We still have to deal with the legal aftermath, but they have enough evidence to put them away for a long time." The restaurant was empty now, except for the forensics team finishing their work. I walked through the dining room, straightening chairs and adjusting table settings, small acts of normalcy in a night that had been anything but normal. In the kitchen, I found Maria and the rest of my staff waiting. "Is it true?" Maria asked. About Mr. Thompson and the money laundering? I took a deep breath. Yes, but that's over now. What matters is that Golden Lotus is safe and clean. What happens next? Someone asked. I looked around at these people who had become my family, at the kitchen that held so many memories. We keep cooking, we keep serving. We keep my grandmother's legacy alive, the right way. 6 months later, I stood in front of the restaurant watching as workers installed the new sign, Golden Lotus, established 1992, Chen Family Kitchen. The criminal trials had ended with guilty pleas all around. Daniel and the Koslov brothers were facing long prison sentences. The FBI had helped recover most of the stolen money, and Jennifer's children would be provided for through a victims' compensation fund. More importantly, Golden Lotus had not just survived, it had thrived. Our reputation for excellent food and honest business had only grown stronger after the story came out. Your grandmother would be proud, Jennifer said, standing beside me. She had moved to Seattle with her kids, taking over the business management of the restaurant, properly this time. I touched the worn recipe book in my apron pocket, my grandmother's legacy protected at last. She always said that good food brings truth to the surface. That evening, as I worked in my kitchen, my real kitchen, not the one Daniel had tried to steal, I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the danger, the fear, but also the strength I'd found, the family I protected, the legacy I preserved. Maria appeared at my side, holding a familiar-looking dish. Special order, she said with a smile. Table 12 wants to know the secret to your sauce. I laughed, reaching for my spices. Some secrets, like some legacies, were meant to be kept in the right hands. After all, as my grandmother always said, the true measure of a recipe isn't just in its ingredients, it's in the love and honesty you cook it with. And Golden Lotus had plenty of both to serve.